I have reached before dawn, where the invasion is already moving before the beach appears occupied. Everything around me, a wide view reveals that the fleet stretches beyond what one camera can contain. No single camera angle can contain every moving part of this operation. The crucial detail is that darkness protects the approach, but also hides every danger ahead. The consequence is that the coastline will become the entrance to occupied Europe, every later scene along the Normandy coast. Behind me, the weather window is narrow and failure remains possible. The conditions in the historical operation area are fit. Across the frame, commanders must choose between delay, surprise, tides, and worsening conditions. The operation works. What the wide shots miss is that one decision commits ships, aircraft, and nearly 160,000 personnel. This changes the operation because history can turn before the first service member reaches the shore. What looks local here? This is Airborne Night, where airborne forces enter Normandy before the beach assault begins. The scale becomes real. Scale becomes visible here because more than 23,000 airborne personnel are dropped by aircraft and gliders. Up close, scattered landings force small groups to improvise missions far from planned zones. The outcomes. From this point forward, holding exits and flanks can protect the forces arriving from the sea. The operation is entering a new Here at the Armada, the channel crossing exhausts men before the landing begins. Every sound now belongs to a distance. From this distance, the operation depends on warships, transports, landing craft, crews, and navigation. The hidden mechanism here is simple. Rough seas scatter formations, soak equipment, and test engines and bodies. The larger meaning here is that the invasion is not one dramatic event. It is a vast logistical system in motion. The report from 5 beaches is clear. 5 beaches share one operation, but face different terrain and resistance. The panorama shows that Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword cover roughly 50 miles of coast. This scene explains why Omaha offers exposed sand and only a few exits beneath defended high ground. What follows becomes possible because one failure could weaken connections across the whole landing front. The beachhead now depends on preserving this narrow advantage. Reporting from the coastal preparation, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. Seen together, poor weather and visibility cause many planned aerial activity to land farther inland than intended. Beneath the larger story, the coastal preparation cannot confirm which positions remain operational behind smoke. This matters beyond the immediate scene, because the first waves may arrive against defenses planners believed were neutralized. First, I have reached tanks in rough water, where armored support is supposed to protect infantry crossing open sand. The wide view reveals that 27 of 32 tanks launched by one battalion sink in rough seas. The crucial detail is that other tank units choose to land vehicles directly on the beach. This practical problem The consequence is that the sea removes part of the planned support capacity before the operation reaches land. Behind me, the final minutes compress months of training into one unseen shoreline. The conditions in the across the frame, currents and smoke push many craft away from assigned sectors. The operation works only when distant units and What the wide shots miss is that service personnel cannot know whether tanks survived or coastal preparation succeeded. This changes the operation because the plan begins fragmenting before the first ramps open. What looks local here can reshape the entire landing front. It's a hour, where the first waves land at Omaha at 6:30 in the morning. The scale becomes real only when the entire scene begins moving around you. Scale becomes visible here because the 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions encounter severe environmental and operational pressure immediately. Up close, open water and sand separate the landing craft from meaningful cover. The outcome is being shaped through physical parts. From this point forward, individual movement replaces formation the moment the ramps fall. The operation is entering a new phase. Here through the surf, the water crossing becomes a physical obstacle before the beach itself. Every sound now belongs to a decision maker. From this distance, packs, period equipment, radios, and ammunition become heavier when soaked. The hidden mechanism here is simple. Service personnel land mixed together and search for any direction that offers cover. The larger meaning is that survival depends on moving despite confusion and exhaustion. One moment on one shores. The report from beach obstacles is clear. The beach has been engineered to delay craft, vehicles, and infantry. The panorama shows that obstacles channel movement into narrow routes watched from the bluffs. Size alone means nothing unless this scene explains why engineers must clear lanes while water rises around their work. The smallest logistical failure can become what follows becomes possible because every opening determines whether later waves can unload at all. The beachhead now depends on preserving this narrow advantage. I am reporting from the rising tide, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. Seen together, lost crews and stalled equipment create dangerous congestion near the waterline. The scene resembles a system under strain. The larger story sees beachmasters suspending and redirecting movements as lanes become blocked. Practical work deters. This matters beyond the immediate scene because the invasion must create order faster than the sea removes room. Here, I have reached the shingle bank, where the shingle bank becomes the first shelter after the exposed crossing. Everything around. The wide view reveals that formal companies are scattered and leaders are missing or misplaced. No single camera angle. The crucial detail is that temporary teams form around whoever can identify a route inland. This practical problem shapes. The consequence is that cover saves lives, but remaining there cannot secure the beach. Every later scene along the Normandy coast. Behind me, the landing phase begins reorganizing itself below the level of the original plan. The conditions in the historical office. Across the frame, small unit leaders gather service personnel from different companies and divisions. The operation works only when. What the wide shots miss is that orders become simple enough to survive confusion. Move, climb, regroup, and. This changes the operation because adaptation starts turning scattered survivors into a functioning slow salt. What I'm reporting from climbing the bluffs, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. Scale becomes visible here because wire, mines, slope, and loose ground slow every upward movement. Each layer depends on another. Up close, separate groups climb wherever terrain blocks observation from observation structures. The outcome is being shaped. From this point forward, the first breakthrough begins as many small climbs rather than one movement. The operation is entering a new phase. Here at destroyers close in, warships begin answering positions visible from the trapped beach. From this distance, destroyers approach within roughly a kilometer of shore in some sectors. The hidden mechanism here is simple. Direct observation makes naval support more precise than the earlier coastal preparations. The larger meaning is that brief windows of support allow infantry to cross exposed ground. One moment on one sector. The report from Armor on the Sand is clear. The few tanks reaching Omaha become disproportionately important. What follows depicting meets terror fear. The panorama shows that Armor provides direct fire, moving cover, and comp amid scattered units. The smallest logistical failure can become a tactical crisis before anyone reports it. What follows becomes possible because surviving machines help connect beach movement with the assault uphill. The beachhead now depends on preserving I am reporting from medics behind cover, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. Seen together, treatment points have little shelter and limited equipment. The scene resembles a system under strain rather than a single dramatic movement. Beneath the larger story, care continues while routes, units, and communications remain uncertain. This matters beyond the immediate scene because the human cost expands faster than any report can count accurately. I am reporting from Rangers and Point du Hoc, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this. This wide view reveals the operation's scale, where ships, people, terrains, machines, and work together without. The crucial detail is that patrols find the period equipment inland and disable them before use. This practical problem shapes. The consequence is that the wider coastal operation protects the landings beyond one beach sector. Behind me, observation structures dominate the beach mainly while advancing groups remain below them. Across the frame, climbing outside the main exits opens directions the defenses cover poorly. The operation works only. What the wide shots miss is that naval support and infantry flanking begin isolating coastal positions. This changes the operation because the bluffs gradually change from defensive advantage into captured high ground. This is opening the exits, where opening exits transforms a landing into a sustainable beachhead. Scale becomes visible here because infantry alone cannot carry enough planned support capacity and supply for continued advance. Up close, each cleared road connects ships and beach dumps to units above the bluffs. The outcome is being shaped through fissions. From this point forward, logistics begin following the same routes purchased by small assault groups. The operation is entering a new phase. Here at First Good Reports, offshore commanders spend hours uncertain whether Omaha can be held. Every sound now belongs to a decision. From this distance, the first positive reports arrive around late morning as groups reach high ground. The hidden mechanism here is simple. Communication slowly reconnects isolated penetrations with the larger operation. While early reports from Omaha were devastating, the sheer scale of the operation meant that elsewhere, units were consolidating their beachheads. I am reporting from the beach as a port, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. The panorama shows that every pile represents another day the force can remain in France. Size alone means nothing. This scene explains why crews repeat unloading, sorting, clearing, and dispatching under continued risk. What follows becomes possible because the beachhead grows stronger through logistics more than spectacle. The beachhead now depends on preserving this narrow advantage. Standing inside into the bocage, I can see that the operation changes character immediately beyond the bluffs. Seen together, hedgerows conceal movement and divide short distances into separate tactical problems. The scene Beneath the larger story, units that survived open sand now face lanes, villages, and close terrain. This matters beyond the immediate scene because Omaha is only the first doorway into a difficult inland campaign. I have reached other beaches where D-Day succeeds through several beachheads rather than Omaha alone. The wide view reveals that Gold and Juno begin linking while Sword falls short of capturing Cayenne. No single camera angle. The crucial detail is that Utah adapts to an off-course landing and advances more quickly. This practical problem shapes what. The consequence is that progress differs sharply, even inside one coordinated invasion. Every later scene along the Normandy coast. Behind me, by afternoon, Omaha is still dangerous but no longer close to total collapse. Across the frame, isolated observation structures lose observation, ammunition, or connection with reserves. What the wide shots miss is that American groups occupy more high ground and protect movement from below. Small technical limit. This changes the operation because the beach shifts from crisis toward a fragile operational foothold. What looks local here can reshape the entire landing front. I am reporting from the scale and cost, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. Scale becomes visible here because historical estimates place Omaha historical losses at approximately 2,400. Up close, exact totals vary because reports conflict and units land mixed together. The outcome is being shaped through. From this point forward, large numbers cannot contain the experience of each individual. The operation is entering a new phase before. Here at the first night, nightfall ends the first day, but not the invasion. Every sound now belongs to a decision made out. From this distance, personnel lack complete boundaries, shelter, and certainty about nearby resistance. The hidden mechanism here is simple. Ships continue unloading while inland groups prepare for counterattacks. The larger meaning is that the beachhead survives because the system never fully stops. One moment on one sector can influence. The report from the next morning is clear. Thoof morning reveals the assault becoming a lasting wet presence. The panorama shows that roads, fuel, communications, engineers, and repair crews now determine expansion. This scene explains why the Armada keeps replacing supplies consumed by the first day. The smallest logistical failure. What follows becomes possible because a temporary foothold begins turning into a campaign base. The beachhead now. I am reporting from why D-Day mattered, where one decision now shapes every movement visible behind me across this historical operation area today. Seen together, nearly 160,000 Allied personnel land across Normandy. The scene resembles a system under. Beneath the larger story, the operation does not end the war, and many objectives remain incomplete. This matters beyond the immediate scene because thousands of separate decisions turn one coastline into a strategic opening.